Zap, 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 lightning, zap, zap, lightning, lightning, fade.
Hello everybody, it's me, the LEGO Dude, and in today's video I'll be talking about every LEGO Star Wars set which is going to be retiring at the end of 2023. I made a video about this a few months ago, but since then we've had quite a few updates to the list. First up we have the 40539 Ahsoka Tano Brickheads, which released in early 2022. LEGO probably released it too late after the hype of Clone Wars Season 7 for it to sell well, but it still was a cool Brickheads. Next up we have the 40623 Battle of Endor Heroes Brickheads, which at the time of retiring will only have had a shelf life of 7 months. Which makes sense since it was released specifically for the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi, but is still disappointing. The last Brickheads retiring at the end of 2023 is the 75317 Mandalorian and the Child Brickheads, which was released in early 2020. With a nearly 4-year lifespan, it's definitely overstayed its welcome. Next up we have a trio of Hoth sets with the 75288 AT-AT, the 75322 Hoth AT-ST, and the 75320 Snowtrooper Battle Pack. At first I thought that these were retiring a bit too early, but thinking about it more, they've all had a solid lifespan. Also retiring at the end of the year is the 66775 Hoth Combo Pack. Next up we have a duo of iconic ships with the 75300 TIE Fighter and the 75301 X-Wing. It's disappointing that these are retiring since they were more affordable than other versions of the X-Wing and TIE Fighter and were still actually good. And with the way LEGO prices are trending, I doubt that they'll make more X-Wings and TIE Fighters that are more affordable than these ones were. Next up we have the 75332 4+ AT-ST, which is one of the worst LEGO sets ever, so I'm glad to see it go. Next up we have two sets which while retiring will only have had a shelf life of a few months, and those are the 40658 Millennium Falcon Holiday Diorama and the 75366 Advent Calendar. Both sets are good but kind of forgettable, and seeing as they're both just seasonal sets, then retiring at the end of the year is normal for them. Next up we have the 75292 Playscale Laser Crest, which has had a nearly 4-year lifespan, having been released in early 2020. It's probably overstayed its welcome a bit, but it's still a really good set. Next up we have the 75312 Boba Fett Starship. This is a really good set in the same vein as the X-Wing and the TIE Fighter, so if you don't have it yet, I would really recommend getting it. Also retiring is the 75318 The Child Buildable Character. It's had a good lifespan, so its retirement is well timed. Next up we have the 75323 The Justifier. I initially thought it was a great set before switching to thinking it was kinda bad before switching to thinking it was just good. At this point in time, I'd say it has a well-timed retirement. Next up is the 75324 Dark Trooper Attack, which I think is retiring too soon. It's a really good set that only just released last year, so retiring now is quite disappointing. Next up is the 75326 Boba Fett's Throne Room, which was mediocre at best, so I have no problem with it retiring. Next up we have a duo of helmet sets with the 75327 Luke Skywalker Red 5 helmet and the 75343 Dark Trooper helmet. The Dark Trooper helmet was kind of bad, so I don't really care about it retiring, but the Luke Skywalker Red 5 helmet retiring is a bit disappointing. Next up we have a trio of diorama sets with the 75329 Death Star Trench Run diorama, the 75330 Dagobah Jedi Training diorama, and the 75339 Death Star Trash Compactor diorama. Initially I was disappointed that the Dagobah Jedi Training and the Death Star Trash Compactor were retiring, but since LEGO are continuing the diorama line of sets, it makes sense for them to have a set shelf life of around 18 months, which is how long that these three diorama sets were available. Next up we have a set which I completely forgot to mention earlier, and that is the 75309 UCS Gunship, which at this point has definitely overstayed its welcome, especially considering the fact that it has a price bump from $350 to $400. Next up is a duo of sets based off the Obi-Wan Kenobi show with the 75334 Obi-Wan vs Darth Vader duel and the 75336 Inquisitor Scythe Transport. I used to think the Obi-Wan vs Darth Vader duel was a horrible set, but it's actually half decent, especially since it's on sale right now. The Inquisitor Scythe Transport is an absolutely amazing set, so seeing it retire after less than 18 months is quite disappointing. Moving on to the antepenultimate set on the list, we have the 75335 Buildable BD-1. If you like Jedi Fallen Order and have enough money, then this is a must buy, but other than that, most people will probably be fine with it retiring. Moving on to the penultimate set on the list, we have the 75338 Ambush on Ferrix. It's a good set, but is also a bit overpriced. Overall, though, I still think it deserved a bit of a longer lifespan. Finally, the last set that we have on the list to retire at the end of 2023 is the 75342 Republic Fighter Tank. The build is mediocre at best, but the minifigures are absolutely amazing. The fact it's only getting an 18-month lifespan is really disappointing, especially since we're likely to never get the clone minifigures in this set ever again. Overall, there's a few sets which I think shouldn't have retired yet, such as the Dark Trooper Attack and the Republic Fighter Tank, but most of the sets retiring definitely belong on the retirement list for the year. Okay everybody, that is everything for today's video. Tell me your thoughts on these retiring LEGO Star Wars sets in the comment section down below. Which do you think deserved to retire? Which do you think didn't deserve to retire? Is there any other sets you think should have been on this list? And one last thing before you leave, please remember to hit the subscribe button, ring the notifications bell, and leave a like on the video. Bye!